Good morning, everyone. We are back from, I did the wrong thing with the light. Shoot! Good morning again, everyone. Welcome back again to the KSR YouTube channel. Appreciate everybody subscribing and following along to our channel. And if you didn't know, we do have some merch available at our winwithksr.com website. We're back on Mullet this morning. Travis came in, beat me here this morning, and started cleaning up and welding the seam between the transmission tunnel and there. So that's something that's done in factory form on these cars, on all these G-body cars, is it's kind of pinched, two halves are pinched together, and you end up with this inch-long lip that sticks out into the transmission tunnel. Well, when you're working up around the transmission, trying to get the bolts out of the transmission, you got this big ugly flange there and bust knuckles and cut your arms and stuff like that. Well, if we can fix that, give us some more room, and welding it solid like that really strengthens up the floor right there, seals up the floor in case there's ever any fire or anything like that happens out in the front. It's just better. So we jumped on that, and I've got to finish welding up this panel here. We're gonna weld around where the bar comes through and probably put just a little filler on this to smooth it out, but you can see we're all good and solid now. So once we do finish the firewall stuff, we're going to finish the exhausts for the wastegates and for the downpipes, and then all the motor comes back out for us to finish smoothing the firewall, paint the firewall, and then put the engine and transmission back in for the final time. Fingers crossed. All right, let's get back at this, and thanks for following along. All right, everybody, so the Wastegate downpipes are fabricated, and we kind of worked out something funny here. This was very unintentional, but kind of cool. So they fit like that there, straight up, all the fire on the trans brake. Flip the same pipe to the other side, and it fits right there and could angle out going behind the turbo. What do you guys think? Let us know. We kind of have an idea which way we're going, but kind of cool that it ended up where either way would work. But we're gonna get to fabricating on the downpipes so that we can pull this all apart and get the firewall repainted and then start final assembly. All right, everybody. Well, as you may have seen, the first one went really quick. The second one, not so much. And that seems pretty typical for me. Like, the first one, yeah, it's great. It's easy. You're just sending it wherever, kind of with an idea of where you're wanting to go. But the second one, when you want it to match the first one, whew, sometimes it's a little bit of a fight. And I had just a little bit of angle mismatches in some places on the second part of the downpipe. And now these, pretty sure they're within the same height. They're really close according to the digital level. And you can kind of see just how they hug the down bar, kind of get a little bit further away as they go down the back of the car. And I think what I'm going to do is leave them like that for now. I'm going to make some tabs that attach. All right, so I'm going to make some tabs that weld here. And I'll probably do a tab on the bar so that we can bolt those down on each side. And then we're going to take this all apart tomorrow, do some body work, a little bit of a little thin skim of filler just to kind of smooth out some of the welds, just where I filled in everything, or where I kind of made everything work. You know, just knock off, it'll smooth some of these edges. Same with the other side. Gonna paint the bottom of it down there, and hopefully we'll get that painted. And then what we'll do is we'll actually fit the doors back on the car. And I don't really want to poke that hole for where the exhaust is coming through the fender until I know the front end is exactly where it's got to be to align the doors properly. We kept track of the shims for each location where the fenders bolt to the body, but just to make sure that everything is aligned right, because so I plan to only have an 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch around the exhaust where it pokes through the fender. But the problem with that is if I cut the hole in the fender and the fender's not exactly where it's going to end up, then it ends up offset to one side and you got, you know, 1/4 inch on one side and nothing on the other. So that's just kind of my method for doing things. As you may have seen, it's a lot of back and forth, putting stuff together, taking it apart, putting stuff together, taking it apart. All right, so that's gonna wrap up what we're doing for today. I'm not ending this video here, but I'm tired, I'm going home. And Travis and I will be here at 7 o'clock in the morning to do the tabs for the downpipes. And then we're gonna take everything off. I'll start welding everything completely, what's done here. And then we got another buddy coming in that's gonna do some of the body work. And he's a body guy by trade. So he's gonna do some of the body work just because I'm sure he'll do it a lot faster and more efficiently than we will. I am not a body guy at all. I do this kind of stuff. And hopefully, so we'll show all that coming up next in the video. All right, everybody, well, as you can see, we took everything completely apart to do the bodywork on the firewall. Brian's gone to town on smoothing everything out and making it pretty. And hopefully we'll have some paint back on it by the end of the day, maybe. We're gonna have it painted at the end of the day, you think?
Yeah, it should be.
Sweet. Cool. So paint by the end of the day, and then maybe tomorrow we'll start putting it back together. All right, everybody. Well, we have gotten some paint on the firewall in Mullet, and we went with a little bit of a textured finish, which kind of matches all the underfloor in the car and the interior in the car. And you can kind of see where we trimmed this. Oops, let me get the camera in the right angle. So this is that lip that I was talking about cutting off earlier. We left just a little tiny bit of it for strength, but this lip was an inch thicker, and we trimmed that off so when we're up inside the car, you know, trying to get to the top bolts in the transmission, it gives you a lot more room to be able to get in there and get that stuff, get the bolts and access some of the bolts. We are going to have a removable panel. So this right here is going to be a removable panel that'll bolt in from the inside. And I'm also going to have a removable panel down by the band adjustment on the transmission, because the band adjustment does have to be checked, especially on a new transmission. After you run it just a little bit, you double check the band as it wears in a little bit. But we've got some work to do on, I need to sand all this stuff up. I'm going to go with just a plain semi-gloss black on all of the bars here. I've got a little bit more welding to do in the seams there. We have some nuts that are welded. You can see where I started to weld them. I need to weld the rest of the way around those. All right, so I've got a little bit to do in here. I've got to fabricate a stop for the upper control arms to limit the front end travel. I've also got to open a little window in here for where the shock sensor is going to go and make a little tab that sticks out for the shock sensor to bolt to. But all the control arms and everything will come off for when we paint the front. And then hopefully by the next video, we'll be starting to reassemble this thing. I do have to still weld all the downpipes, but you know, they're all made at least to get us back to the turn. And then like I said earlier in the video, we're gonna fully assemble the front end before we punch the holes in the bottom of the fender. I gotta go at this fender, these brand new painted fenders with a giant hole saw. I'll be sure and video that for you guys, just because. But anyways, appreciate everybody watching and following along. We'll see you in the next one.